Hey guys, Josie from Queen My Pawn here again, and I'm here to discuss about that interesting sacrifice in the Giuoco piano. E4, E5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, the Giuoco piano, or the quiet game, the quietest game now, Giuoco pianissimo. Knight f6, knight c3, d6, bishop g5, and as we've learned in the last video, h6 is the best move here, getting kingside space, possibly going to castle depending on whether he captures the bishop, the knight, kingside, or if he moves away the queenside. Bishop h4, g5. Now we're definitely going to castle queenside in this position, but something that has happened a lot is the interesting sacrifice. Knight takes g5. This is very interesting because here's the problem. White assumes the initiative immediately. He's pinning the knight. Now, that doesn't look like a huge problem right away, but if it was White's move again, he does have a huge threat. He has a threat in the next move. And let's see if you can find what White would do next. And if you do find what White would do next, how could Black defend against it? And that's the hardest part. I'll give you 3 seconds to pause the video. Did you find the threat knight d5? The problem with this is that we have to do our homework, and the homework is that we're being pinned. So this keeps flashing, and I'm a contributor. That's good. Anyways, we have to do our homework with this pin, and they're gonna place even more pressure on that pin with knight to d5. So we have got to get rid of the pin. What's the only way? Rook to g8. Some people may try rook to h5, but that's not a good move because you're putting your rook under attack. Sure, it's defended, but after bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, it's no longer defended. So let's keep our rook safe. They don't have time to play knight to d5 right now because you just take the bishop. So they may either play bishop to h4, keeping the pin, or even safer, h4. Now the threat of knight d5 again has been revived. Is there some way to stop it? If so, how, and can you find it? Here's another 3 seconds to pause the video and try to find the best move for Black. So the problem is we can't get rid of the pin right now because if the rook takes it, the pawn takes back. And even though we have a rook, even though we have a knight and a bishop for a rook, and 2 pawns, by the way, they also have an open file. And they have the initiative. But there's a better move that you can do. Did you find bishop b4? That prevents knight to d5 and it pins the knight. Another way to continue this pressure on the pin would be queen to f3. But now, if you had looked deep enough, you should have found knight to d4. This threatens to fork on c2, and it also attacks the queen. They don't really have time for this move because you just take the queen. Wet check, and they cannot take you back, therefore. So they basically have to move the queen away. However, they could have done queen takes f6. So maybe knight to d4 isn't the best move. We can see that their threat right now is to take the knight. And the only way to stop it is to play rook to g6. That defends the knight and prepares knight to d4. So we've done our homework, and they can no longer attack. If they try to push the pawn, you just simply take the bishop. And if they try to get a queen, you just simply block the pawn. But you can't do that just yet because the queen will come here and checkmate you. So you have to be careful about that. Perhaps knight to d4. Now the queen has to move out of the f file, and it can't go anywhere on it because it'll get captured. When the queen moves back to defend, that's when you can block knight to h7. The pawn is blocked, unmovable, and you're preparing queen to f6. You may also play bishop takes c3 at some point, so that this knight can no longer go to d5. And if you prefer to keep the bishop, c6 is a possibility too. Let's move back. This actually happened in one of my games that I lost because I made a really silly mistake. Let's go over it. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, d3, d6, knight c3, knight f6, bishop g5. Of course, I had read the book before playing the game. h6, bishop h4, g5, knight takes g5. Here comes my moment to shine and use what I've learned so far to win the game. Pawn takes knight on g5, bishop takes. Rook to g8, putting pressure on the pinning piece and forcing it to disappear. h4, as expected. Bishop h4 is also possible, but the same. Bishop b4, getting rid of the threat knight d5. Queen f3, and now rook to g6. So the sacrifice has been defended, and it turned out to be unsound, but you need to know this. And now I have it memorized. Castles. At this point, knight to d5 is a possibility again. So I took. Now, all I have to do is just break the pin. Notice that knight to d5 is impossible anymore. Knight to d4. Maybe a smarter move could have been knight to d4 first, and then takes, pawn takes, but then the knight has to move away. But actually, this is tricky. So notice this. If we go to the analysis board, I don't want to stray off too far, but knight to d4, this would not be a good move. This would probably be the best move. But anyways, the point is that if the queen goes here, you get to fork. But white probably would have played queen to e3. The point is now, this bishop's defended. So something playable might have been this move. Interestingly, although I'm deviating from the point of this video, I haven't really analyzed this. Let me go back to the point of the video. So bishop takes e3, pawn takes e3, bishop to g4, instantly skewering. Yes, that defends the bishop now. I took the rook. Maybe a stronger move here could have been this. I would have to move back, h6. That would have to block the pawn, and either king or rook takes, probably this. Probably not that though, actually. Probably rook takes. This would actually defend successfully. And you might do this. And I'm actually up a rook here, so I think I'll be fine. Moving on. I broke the pin with queen d7, so the game is in my favor now. The biggest problem when, whoa, it's going too fast. The biggest problem when the knight gets sacrificed on g5 is the pin. So as long as you can break the pin, you should be able to win the game. And I just did that. Now the knight's not only blocking the h pawn, but it's also attacking the problematic bishop. Yeah, I got rid of the bishop. Who knows? Maybe it wasn't necessary. But now it allowed me to castle. And now this is where I went astray and I messed up. I played the really bad move, knight to a5. It's a bad move. The best move, I saw this actually in the game. To play rook, the threat that white wanted to do was play rook takes f7, or even better, which was what white play was. Bishop takes f7. The point is that this pawn needs to be defended, and simply rook to f8 would have done that. Then I could have played queen to e7 and queen takes pawn, or similar. But I played a really bad move, and I didn't do my homework. The homework was, hey, you got to get rid of this, and then you can go play your Minecraft or whatever it is. But I didn't do that. Instead, I went to go play, and then I failed the class. This is a losing position. Actually, if you see the engine, you're going to see how dramatically the point changes. I couldn't believe it myself. So it says here, black is winning by -6, almost. Yeah, it's -6. Okay, I have never thought it possible for a game to be completely flipped over. Watch what happens after the worst move in the game, or possibly one of the worst moves ever played in chess. The game switches. Well, it says 0.0, but now I have to play rook e6. I dropped, look, back then, I don't know what they did at Stockfish, but back then it was +3. Yeah, I lost 9 points. And the favor turned entirely to white. So you can see black is, it's all black here in the score. And now white just completely drains all of that with bishop takes f7. So it's never too late to lose a game. You have to be aware. Finally, we can analyze what the best move is in this position. Should I have played knight to d4? It says it's not that good because of queen e3 defending the bishop, of course. I played the best move, bishop takes c3, pawn takes c3, and now bishop to g4, of course. So maybe castling wasn't the best idea. It says here after a3, bishop takes c3, pawn takes c3, queen to e7, preparing bishop e6, or just bishop e6 right away. And that should defend against the knight. But the point is to play queen to e7 and bishop to e6. If the bishop takes, just queen takes. You're also threatening to double pawns after bishop to e6. It says here we play bishop to d5. And the computer moved king to d7, but I can't really imagine a human playing this. g3. Oh, well, that's the point. It looks like actually the pin is broken now, so everything's defended. And so this is the way to play. So I hope you liked the video, and now you know what to do when someone tries this surprising sacrifice, knight takes g5 against you. Good luck and thanks for watching.